Now, viewers, we stay in the region. Reporters Without Borders, an NGO, has said that Israel has killed more journalists in 2025 than any other country in the world. According to an annual report published by the RSF, Israeli forces, which carried out the war in Gaza, was responsible for the deaths of 29 Palestinian reporters. It was the third consecutive year running that Israel was named the top in the list by the NGO. Mexico is the second most dangerous country in the world for journalists, with 9 killed in the past year. According to the report, war ravaged Ukraine, where 3 journalists were killed in 2025, and Sudan, where 4 journalists were killed this year, are other highly dangerous countries for journalists. Now, for this discussion, we welcome back former ambassador Alon Pinkas. He's former ambassador, Israeli ambassador, joins us live from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for staying with us. Now, looking at this, how long do you think it would take for Israel to lead or Israel to allow other, journalists, foreign journalists, to enter Gaza?
Right. Well, that's a very good question. I'm sure that many international news outlets like you or like others from all over the world would like to go into Gaza and report what they're seeing and what's going on in Gaza. The thing is, right now, and I go back to our previous conversation, Asuma, the thing is that Gaza is now politically, it's a no man's land. Israel sort of withdrew, but not entirely. Hamas is sort of destroyed, but not really. There's no functioning government to manage these kind of journalists' incursions into Gaza, and there's no political authority that would welcome them, that would escort them. Now, you may say that you're willing to go to Gaza without such an escort, but then you're in a war zone, and Israel won't allow this to happen for obvious reasons. Look. I don't know when Israel will allow journalists to come in, but I can imagine that if and when there is that international stabilization force that we spoke about a moment ago, if that is established, even if it's not 100% complete and not 100% functioning, then you will see, the permits for journalists or for news organizations to go in. Right now, but there's also a political angle to this. We have to admit, right now, Israel has no interest in allowing journalists into Gaza, because what they will report is undoubtedly and unequivocally going to be uncomplimentary, to put it mildly, to Israel.
And, as you rightfully mentioned in our previous discussion, Ambassador, you also mentioned that right now Gaza doesn't have any political figure that is legitimate. So how, as news organization, what reports are we to take seriously when, all we have is to only take and report the reports of the casualties reported by Hamas-run Health Ministry of Gaza about the death, and so what are we to trust here, and how significant or how urgent this issue should be for Israel to allow the other reporters, such as our organization you mentioned, and many organizations who want to get in there, who want to report what is actually happening, and not just take the reports coming directly out of Hamas-run health organization.
Well, you're right. You raise an excellent point, Asuma, because if indeed Israel is right, and the Palestinian health authorities, the Hamas health ministry, manipulated data and came out with exaggerated numbers, then Israel should have a vested interest in allowing the international media or the UN or any kind of human rights organizations into Gaza to prove the point. Yet Israel is not allowing it, perhaps because it knows that while numbers we're manipulating, the numbers are pretty much real. Israel is saying, oh, it's not true that over 70,000 were killed in Gaza. Well, prove, if you can, prove that there have been less, and prove that many of them, or most of them, were indeed combatants. I think Israel is going to find it extraordinarily difficult to prove that. Now, there have been other estimates of the number of casualties done through a statistical model that takes a neighborhood. You know, you take an aerial photo, a drone photo of a neighborhood. You know how many buildings are there. You know how many people live there. You know how many people fled. So you do the math, because if you had 100% people living there and 60% left, that means that 40% were probably killed. 40% out of that number, you add that and throughout Gaza, and you reach a number that is not far from 70,000. Now, I'm not saying that this statistical model is absolutely accurate. Obviously not. It does not, it does not see actual bodies of people who have been tragically killed or killed during the war. But it's the closest approximation that we have. And so, back to your question, until and when international media and international organizations go into Gaza, the numbers that we have are the numbers that we have.
Right. Yes, unfortunately. But
Yes.
thank you very much, Ambassador, for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we stay in the region now. Now,